everybody, and welcome to episode number 5 of Empire State Hoops. This is your host, Adam Rothschild, but unfortunately, my co-host, Matt Vargo, is unavailable today. But joining us today, we have Troy from the Knicks Recap. Troy, welcome to the show. It's glad to have you today, and I can't wait to talk some Knicks today. But before we get to that, today's episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, Troy, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today. Ready to just talk some Knicks? We have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, with opening night coming up against the Boston Celtics, we've heard some news about the Joel Embiid situation going on in Philadelphia. And obviously, there was a rumor about a trade package that went out today, and it's not what we expected.
Well, maybe in terms of you didn't expect it, but I knew that in terms of getting a star like Joel Embiid, you're gonna have to play with a lot of players, and I actually expected some of those players. There's one player on that list when we do get to it at some point that I do want to talk about that I was surprised about. So can't wait to get to that. But yeah, man, I'm excited to get to the show. I'm happy to be on episode number 5, man, and yeah, congrats to what you guys are doing. Really happy to see it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really means a lot. Just getting into podcasting has been something I've really been excited about, and especially, of course, with our opening night coming up tomorrow night, it's just chills. It's excitement that Knicks basketball is finally back. Obviously, we have games going on tonight with the Lakers and Nuggets and the Suns and the Warriors, but the Knicks still have some news. We have the roster that is now finalized. They made some posts on social media. The roster is officially finalized, and that's something we're also going to go through tonight as well. So, what's your take on the roster with all us? We're going to talk about the young guys mostly down at the bottom. So, like guys like Jacob Toppin and other guys on the bottom of the roster. How do you think they're not going to get minutes, but how do you think they're going to fit, even though they're not going to be in the rotation?
That's kind of the thing. How do you fit when you're not in the rotation? I mean, they fit for practice. If you look at the entire rotation, and we can go down there, right? 15-man roster, right? They just finalized the two ways recently. They signed Dylan Windler, right, and had a standard contract. Go ahead and converted him over from a two-way to a standard NBA contract, which is great for him. Forward, right, which is great. Wing. Adam, they have 9 guards as part of that 15-man roster. 9 guards. Apart from that, they don't have any other depth in their front court. They moved away their only front court depth piece in Obi Toppin for 2 future second-round picks, I believe in 2028 and 2030. So, well, a couple years down the road. If I'm being honest, the roster itself is not, otherworldly. It doesn't jump you out of the gym or anything like that. It's a decent roster with continuity as the magic word, right? That's gonna help, but it doesn't make me feel good. No, I mean, I want this. We were promised a star. We wanted a star. That's exactly what we heard for the entire offseason. Actually, some of my sources told me that we were hearing these reports about Joel Embiid since the spring. So it's not even, they were still playing when they were talking about this stuff. There's nothing new. But now coming full force back into this, Knicks season, if you look at the roster in totality, it's not anything to get excited about. What's the biggest thing here? Dante DiVincenzo? Dante's not going to make the Knicks a number 3 seed. So, I mean, it's not a great roster when you look at it from top to bottom, but the Knicks roster, top 5, they're 5. I think that can compete in the league given another year of chemistry. The problem is, what do you do when you need depth? There's nothing unless you want to go to the guards, right? So,
yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to look at it, especially like you just said, our 5 obviously can compete with those, with those Milwaukees, with those Bostons. So when you look at guys like Jalen Brunson, when you look at Julius Randle, when you look at RJ Barrett, I think it's just comes to show that like this is like a coming out party because they need to make a statement. Like, it's opening night, you're playing Boston. You got to make a statement no matter what. No matter what comes at you. The bench is obviously going to have to step up too, because we don't know what to expect out of this rotation. Obviously, DiVincenzo is literally filling in for Obi Toppin. So you wonder if that's going to affect the bench.
Well, the thing is, the Obi Toppin situation, that's going to Josh Hart, right? Josh Hart's playing the backup 4, which for me is terrible. The Knicks the problem with the Knicks, Adam, is that they play players out of position, right? RJ Barrett's playing the 3, he's a 2. Josh Hart's a 3, he's going to play the 4. Jericho Sims is a 5, he's playing the 4. You do that when you lack depth. They're doing that because they don't have any other pieces to go by. Tom Thibodeau has shortened his rotation to a 9-man rotation. So even though you have all those other players, like the Jacob Toppins, who could actually use minutes, because we need a body, and he plays good defense from the minutes that we saw in preseason. But what's the point when I can call the 9 players already? Number 10 is Jericho Sims, and 11 is Miles McBride. Who else is going past that? There's nobody else. When you have a coach like this, the players you have doesn't matter past maybe 10. And that's the issue.
Yeah, I think you're definitely we're gonna have to look at this, going forward once we get to like the midpoint of the season when the trade deadline comes around. That's going to be a crucial part to see if it's a buy or sell, because obviously we're saying here that they need bodies like Mitch, Hartenstein, and Sims, and Josh Hart playing at the 4 and Julius Randle. Obviously, it's not going to be enough. You need bigger guys. That's why we keep talking about Joel Embiid and even Karl-Anthony Towns. Also, that's another thing that was talked about early on in the offseason, but obviously was rumors and never obviously happened.
Yeah, I'm not a big Cat fan, to be honest. It's unfortunate, though. I reported him quite a bit because I have to. It's in the news now, right? And a lot of the insiders that I speak to, Adam, basically tell me that Karl-Anthony Towns is the most feasible in-season target. Obviously, shout out to my guy, Steph Bond, who reported that with the New York Post. He basically stated that, out of all the stars, Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, all the stars linked to the Knicks, it's really Cat. And that scares me a little bit. And the reason for that is because if you look at the contract and the money for an in-season trade right now, they haven't signed Emmanuel quickly, right? So he's a restricted free agent, but he's still tradable. And then you have Evan Fournier over there, still tradable. Cat doesn't start that Supermax till next year. Doesn't start that $51 million contract till next year. So right now he's making around 30-something million. That's actually a tradable contract. To your point, the Knicks do need more offense at the 5. We don't have that with Mitch. Mitch is a great defender, right? It was one of the reasons we got to the playoffs, cleaned the glass up a lot, but he's offensively limited. Karl-Anthony Towns, I wouldn't probably worry about his offense. One of the best 3-point bigs in the league. So I get the understanding why people want Cat, but Cat gets paid like a superstar, and he's not a superstar. Never been a superstar. Hasn't shown up in the playoffs like superstars are supposed to do. Minnesota moved their rebuild around him to around Anthony Edwards. There's a reason for that. They believe in Edwards way more than they believe in Cat. And so would I. So would you. Anybody would. You could see talent differently. Cat is not what he's all that cracked up to be. And in my opinion, Joel Embiid is the one that moves the needle. Cat moves you back because you still need a piece after you add Cat. Cat's a number 2. Cat's not a number 1 on a championship team. You bring Cat here right now, Jalen Brunson's probably still leading the Knicks versus Cat. Yeah, who's making $61 million, right? $61 million in his final year, Adam. $61 million to pay a guy who never showed up in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like, it's obvious, like, that we know he hasn't. The numbers say it themselves, but just he hasn't gone past the first round. But Joel Embiid, on the other hand, like we just briefly mentioned in the beginning, the trade package that they put out, it was RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, not Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson, and like a pick.
It actually was Julius Randle, actually. So yeah, the report you're talking about is actually from Keith Pompey, who writes for the 76ers, right, for the Philadelphia Inquiry. And part of that, actually, what he said was that the Knicks are offering a trio of the following players. It would be Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett, along with 2 or 3 first-round picks. You got to assume those first-round picks are going to be unprotected because any team around the league is going to want unprotected picks for your MVP caliber player. So that's going to make sense. The interesting thing there, though, right? If you look at all the players there, Mitchell Robinson is rep by Wasserman Group, not CAA. Evan Fournier has been talking about leaving the Knicks since the summer. Julius Randle and RJ Barrett are both rep by the same agent and Bill Duffy and the new agency that Julius Randle joined in WME Sports. None of them are CAA clients. Emmanuel Quickly's name, not mentioned. Quentin Grimes' name, not mentioned. Only those players. More than the package that's on the table tells you just as much. because it tells you what Leon Rose and company is comfortable in giving up in a superstar trade. And it actually lines up to the Donovan Mitchell situation. If you remember, Donovan Mitchell, they didn't want to give up more than 3 first-round picks. Joel Embiid, they'll give you some players, but not no more than 3 first-round picks. It's actually classic Leon Rose, and that's really the package on the table. If it was me for a trio, if Randall was included, I'd take the deal. I would not include RJ Barrett in the deal. I feel like RJ is going to ascend and going to continue to get better. Randall, I feel like I know what he can do, and I feel like I've seen everything he's going to give me. I don't feel like he can become better, which is why I would put him in the deal. So that's personally my opinion on the Philadelphia Embiid situation, which I feel like is going to be a spectacle until you see what James Harden does, right? So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I especially agree with you. It's going to be interesting what goes down in Philadelphia. But obviously, you just mentioned RJ Barrett before. His potential, as you just said, rising, going all the way up. Is this the year where he finally figures himself out and becomes like an all-star caliber player? But obviously, that's something we've seen the numbers, but it hasn't been up to all-star level yet. But he's getting up there, obviously.
Yeah, RJ Barrett this is my last year for RJ for me personally. I get the whole, 23 years old, he's young. I get all that. But it's kind of like when you're in a certain area or a range, like say if you were in kindergarten 5 times, after the 4th time, people will look at you like, you're still in kindergarten? That'd be weird, right? RJ Barrett has had a slow start his entire career. If he does another slow start after going to FIBA and killing it in FIBA, then that's who he is. And if your legacy as a player is slow start and good in the playoffs, you're not worth 90 plus million. You might not even be worth 80 plus million. RJ Barrett has to step up this year. He has to be the number 2 on the Knicks. I think Julius Randle to take a step back, be more of a pass first type of forward, which I think like a Joker type. Not saying he has the same type of skill set, but he's strong. He can play bully ball. Jalen Brunson will be able to find him as he's cutting, just like I think he would do with RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's already showcased why he needs to be number 2. The playoffs, that was one of the biggest spectacles and stages you want to see every player show up and perform on. Now, I'd love to see RJ Barrett do that for the entire season, but if you're going to give it to me in the playoffs, I'll take it. RJ Barrett must ascend. If he does not ascend this year, the fan base is turning on him. They've already turned on him. I don't think he has another year where he can do what he did last year and come back from it. He can't survive that. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be make or break for RJ Barrett this upcoming season, obviously. And we're going to take a quick break here on Empire State Hoops, and we'll be right back in just a few moments. Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA, the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this, it's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it. And we are back on Empire State Hoops. This is episode number 5. Once again, this is Adam Rothschild, joined by Troy from the Knicks Recap. And we have some more discussions to be made here. So let's get to the top 100 ESPN list. Several of the Knicks did make the top 100. But as we know, this list is made from people that work at ESPN and not the stat-wise things that we expect, obviously. And we'll start with Mitchell Robinson. He's sitting right at 100.
Yeah, not surprising. He made the list before, the list prior to that at 99, actually. So he's done worse. So I don't know. And he's actually came off his best season with the Knicks. I don't know how to explain how you come off of your best season and go down a step in the rankings, but yeah, whatever. Glad he made it though, right? So shout out to Mitch. Happy for him.
Yeah, top
Yep.
100 for Mitchell Robinson ain't a bad deal.
Yep.
Emmanuel quickly is sitting at number 92, and we got Josh Hart sitting at 91.
That's hilarious to me, man. Emmanuel quickly should be much higher. That's such disrespect. Emmanuel quickly is running up for sixth man of the year. One of the reasons that New York Knicks even got as far as they did. I mean, to be there with Josh Hart, who's basically impactful for half of a season, that's a little disrespectful. I like Josh Hart, like Emmanuel quickly, but quickly should have been higher in my opinion. But at least he's made again more Knick players making the list. I don't want to complain about that, but if you're calling it trying to be fair. Quickly, there's no way quickly is that low. Quickly should be at least like 80, 70 maybe, but not 90.
Yeah, and then just before we went on the break, obviously, we had a discussion about RJ Barrett, and he got put at 71. Does that shock you at all, or do you think he could have been a little bit higher, you think?
I think you could switch them quickly and RJ. If you're just looking at regular season, that's what I would have done. Maybe the playoffs are the reason why he's so high, because I don't think he should be that high. And I'm an RJ Barrett fan. I love RJ. I just, I like basketball. So I like to watch good basketball. And the unfortunate part is with the way RJ plays at the three isn't always great. So I don't think he should have been that high, but shout out to him for being that high. I mean, that's a lot of promise. It's probably from the playoffs, though. That's the only reason why, because he's the only Knick besides Brunson who really stepped it up in the playoffs. So kudos to RJ.
Yeah, I feel like it's these standout moments where like these stat people just look at that right spot and they're like, oh, let's put that player up there. Let's put that player there. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that, obviously. And then I believe Julius Randle was around somewhere in the 40s. They put Tyrese Maxey ahead of him, I believe.
I see. Think he didn't crock the 50. I think it was 55.
Yeah.
I don't think he broke the top 50, which is disrespectful. I think he's the probably second or third best power forward in the NBA in terms of just pure numbers. Always up there in terms of stats. He almost averages triple doubles. Find another power forward that can do what Julius Randle does. That's not a star or a superstar. It's very hard. So to put Randle, and I'm not the biggest Julius Randle fan either, but again, be a little bit more fair and respectful. Randle not being in top 50, that's borderline disrespectful. Jalen Brunson made the list, right? I think he was like 20 something, right?
I was just gonna get into that. So he is at 32.
Oh my God, that's such disrespect.
He
Wait,
should,
well, what, tell me the guards that are in the top 25.
the
Some of the
guard.
guards. Yeah.
I don't have the list right in front of me, but I think like Jamal Murray was definitely in the top 20.
Jamal, wait, Jamal for the Nuggets, yeah, of course, he deserves that. But my concern, like if Trae Young or Tyrese Halliburton is in the top 25, then I'd have some issue with that. If those two are above Brunson, that's a disrespectful list.
I think Brunson was definitely a bit ahead of Halliburton. That I definitely know.
Okay.
I don't know about Trae Young though, but as long as he's ahead of some guys that are like decent point guards, he should be better than those guys. Like obviously, like he proved it. Like the first year, he proved it. Like he can handle the big stage.
Absolutely. He's my favorite player on the team right now, beyond anybody else, actually. I believe in him more than anybody else. I've never seen somebody hold the ball where I believe that it's going to go in more than Jalen Brunson. So for me, he's it. Point guard, leader, everything in one. Could not have asked for a better point guard to have for the future, man.
Yeah, I think we've been waiting so long for a point guard, and then this guy just comes out of nowhere like a 2018 second round pick and just shocks the world in New York. It's unbelievable what this guy did, and we can't wait to see what he does in the second year. So we'll get to Jalen Brunson later on in future episodes, obviously. But down the road, Emmanuel quickly did not agree to a contract extension. So next summer, he'll be a free agent. This is going to be huge. This is going to be huge because they need to re-sign him if he has an amazing season.
The thing is, he's a restricted free agent, so the Knicks can still match any offer that's given to Emmanuel quickly. But the thing with the Emmanuel quickly situation is, and shout out to my guy Ian Bagley from SNY. He basically stated that Emmanuel quickly, he doesn't actually see him having another season with the Knicks. And I actually believe him. And there's a reason for that. It has nothing to do with any political stuff. Emmanuel Quickly loves New York. Tom Thibodeau actually loves Emmanuel Quickly and wants Emmanuel Quickly to stay in New York. He really absolutely does. It's not about that. It's simply about money. You cannot have Emmanuel Quickly making what, 100 million, let's say, right? And Josh Hart making 80 million, combined 180 on your bench. You can't have that. You can't, because you can't trade for a star then. All the stars you guys want, you can't get them if the cap is crazy. With the new CBA going close to the second apron, you're gonna get in trouble if you do these things wrong. That's why everybody's saying when the Knicks are being patient right now, it's because if they make the wrong move, the recovery time from it is not like it used to be, where maybe it's 2 or 3 years. It's maybe 6 to 9 years. That's how long it would take to rebuild in the new era, where you can't be so close to the cap. That's why it's an issue. So I think the New York Knicks are going to have a lot to figure out here with the Emmanuel Quickly situation. I want them to resign quick, but if you sign him to that much money, you'd have to start him. And with the Donovan Mitchell rumors and everything else like that, I'm more certain they would rather have Donovan and Brunson versus IQ and Brunson.
Yeah, I think that would obviously make more sense, obviously, because we almost, got Donovan Mitchell last summer, but obviously it didn't work out and he went to Cleveland. But this is definitely going to be an interesting situation down the stretch. Meanwhile, our first 4 games of the season, we'll go through each of these really quick. So obviously the first night, it's Boston. They just got Drew Holiday. They got Porzingis in the offseason. They basically got rid of a ton of their bench. They got rid of Brogdon. They got rid of Williams. They got rid of Grant Williams. What is going to happen? That's the question. How are the Knicks going to handle this situation on their home floor? It was obviously back in 2021 when they played Boston on opening night. How is this going to be different? How is it going to be better?
Oh man, I wish you didn't ask me this question because I got to be honest. I love my Knicks. I want them to win, of course. I don't think they're going to win this game. Boston has the best, I think, 5 or 6 man lineup in the league. Nobody can beat that lineup. They all can shoot the three. They all can defend very, very well at a high level. Kristaps Porzingis, if healthy, changes that team's dynamic like crazy. Because if you have to collapse on him, then you have Jaylen Brown open. Jaylen Brown. And then worse, Jason Tatum. And then you got Drew Holiday, who can shut down any guard. And our best player is a guard. So if you take out Jalen Brunson from the equation, what do you have? Julius Randle? I'm not trying to put all my hopes and dreams into Julius Randle. So yeah, it looks like a bad night, honestly. The Celtics look like they're prime and ready to become the best team in the East. And I'm very worried for the Knicks' chances of victory tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough task for the Knicks, obviously, against the Boston Celtics with this Super Bowl team. But obviously, Boston's bench has been weakened, like we just mentioned. But they still have a couple key guys left. They still have Peyton Pritchard. Still have Daniel Hauser, that good shooter they got off the bench. So we'll see what.
Yeah, they also have Al Horford as well too. That's another great key guy off the bench, and he can shoot 3. Huge. The Knicks don't have a guy like that off the bench who can do that. No one. It's a problem. I'm telling you, man. They got a problem squad. They have a really good squad.
Yeah, no. You make a good point. Like it's going to be tough no matter what the circumstances are for New York. It's just Boston is just a tough team. It's that simple. And looking at our next game, it's the Atlanta Hawks. You have Trae Young. You have DeJounte Murray. Obviously Atlanta. No more John Collins. He went to Utah. But looking at this matchup, this is going to be on the road in Atlanta. How do they respond depending on obviously on what happens against Boston? It's going to be a tough response depending on if it's a win or loss.
I think the Knicks are going to do very well here. I think the Knicks do very well against Atlanta, actually. Trae Young is the problem, but once you have somebody like Jalen Brunson who can legitimately take out a Trae Young, not exactly like, in terms of defense or anything like that, but he can match him. And I think because you have a player like that, I'm not as worried about the Hawks because they work through him, even though Deontay is great in terms of, his defense and whatnot. I'm way more fearful of Trae Young and the way he can get that team going. But you stop Trae Young, and they don't even have John Collins. Okongwu is going to have a lot of problems with, Julius Randle. So, I expect the Knicks to dominate that matchup, actually. And on the road, they're a better team. And I expect them to continue to be a better road team as well.
Yeah, obviously the Atlanta Hawks 2 years ago in the playoffs, that was a nightmare, obviously. But now the Knicks can hopefully figure out against Atlanta, which I think shouldn't be an issue at all with all this stuff we've been mentioning. And then getting to the next game at New Orleans.
Yeah.
going against a healthy Zion Williamson, apparently. Apparently a healthy Zion Williamson. They'll have
Right.
CJ McCollum. Well, how is that game going to go? Because that one is also going to be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we got to face them now. I'd rather face them at game 40 when Zion is, already taking a break for the season. But for now, yeah, it's going to be a problem. That game is going to be tough. I think the Knicks are going to pull it out just because you can't throw Zion in the mix, no matter how big or strong or Hulk size he is, and expect him to be the beast that he's supposed to be. It just doesn't work that way because you want it to. I think it's going to be a good story for him. I hope he does play the full year, but I don't see them beating the Knicks, not that early on. They're going to need some time to gel, especially with Zion coming back and just understand how that flow goes. So Knicks all the way with that one.
Yeah, so I think that would also just be an interesting matchup too, obviously, with New Orleans trying to come out of that rebuild. Also, we forgot to mention Brandon Ingram as well. That's another key piece they have, obviously.
Yes, and CJ McCollum as well too.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I mentioned that one as well. So our last game we'll mention before we close things out, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the playoff matchup last year. It's going to be on the road in Cleveland against Donovan Mitchell, against this young core that they have around Donovan Mitchell, including Darius Garland. We're going to ask this question. How do the Cavaliers respond after they lost this series last year? Because they're going to come out with a vengeance.
Very, very good point. Yeah, the Cavaliers are going to look to respond. They got embarrassed, 5-1. That's an embarrassing defeat. You had home court. You lost home court. You got ran off the floor. Donovan Mitchell was supposed to be a Knick, basically crying in his locker room because he can't be a Knick. Destroyed by Jalen Brunson yet again. I mean, his legacy is starting to be Jalen Brunson. If I see him in the playoffs, I'm going to get defeated, beat down. So you don't want to have that as Donovan Mitchell. They have a statement to prove. And the thing as well, too, we didn't really mention this because we're talking about the first four. The game right after that is against Cleveland again. It's the first, team against the team again. So, right, the first back-to-back, I assume. So it's Cleveland again and Cleveland again. So the motivation, number one, for Cleveland to want to beat us is there. But even more so, whoever takes that game, the motivation is going to be just as much there to take the next one. So it's going to be a very, very tough side. That game, I can't call. That's going to be ridiculous. I see Donovan Mitchell coming out there to show why he deserves the praise of a superstar. Because people are calling him a failure of a player because of what he's been doing in the playoffs. He's hearing all that stuff. I think he's going to prove a statement this year. And it's unfortunate. I think he's going to prove it against the Knicks.
Yeah, I obviously, as a fan myself, would not be surprised if that happens, because as a Knicks fan, we never know what can happen. But we have the Knicks, we have the Celtics, obviously, in our opening night matchup, and that is going to be a treat to watch. All of us here can't wait. Every Knicks fan in the entire world can't wait for the season to come out once again. This episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. This has been Adam Rothschild from Empire State Hoops and Troy from the Knicks Recap. Thank you for joining me today once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. The Knicks play the Celtics at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Make sure to tune in and watch the game at the world's most famous arena. Signing off for now, once again, this is Adam Rothschild with the Knicks Recap, signing off.